Hello everyone, this is Remlays from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of 40k Lore for Newcomers. For this episode, we will be continuing with our brief look at the Warhammer 40,000 timeline. While these videos will typically focus more on humanity's actions throughout the timeline, certain important Xenos events will also be documented throughout. So, without further ado, let's continue. The following account is a chronicle of events occurring throughout M42. Because of how intricate and detailed the events of this time were, only certain key events will be mentioned, which in turn will be expanded upon in future videos. In addition, there is also a small chance for potential inaccuracies of specific dates due to contradicting sources. For events that occurred prior to this, make sure to check out the previous videos in the 40k timeline. Circa 001 M42. The Tau Empire launches its fourth sphere of expansion, though the fleet is unexpectedly dragged into the warp following the activation of their newly developed AL-38 slipstream module technology. The Ethereal Cast attempts to suppress all knowledge regarding the fate that befell the fourth sphere fleet, and all contact is lost between the missing fourth sphere and the Empire. The region of space where the fleet launched from, known as Numenor Point, is temporarily abandoned. Thanks to the onset of the gargantuan warp rift known as the Cicatrix Maledictum, the galaxy becomes beset by numerous demonic incursions. The Imperium is effectively split in two, with the portion in the galactic northeast becoming known as Imperium Nihilus, while the galactic southwest is christened Imperium Sanctus. The Cerebax warp storm forms in Ultima Segmentum. A mysterious artifact known as the Imga Monolith activates, creating a perfect sphere of order that envelops the nearby systems. A legion of Cornate demons emerges from the warp storm in an attempt to destroy the monolith, but find themselves embattled with the Necrons of the Sortek dynasty, with thousands of Necron ships forming a protective blockade around the monolith. The war between the demons and the Necrons soon spreads to a number of Imperial worlds, and strike forces from the Ultramarines and Mortificators chapters attempt to save these worlds from being destroyed during the conflict. However, due to the sheer number of demonic entities involved in this war, Imperial forces are forced to subject many of the worlds to exterminatus. The bulk of High Fleet Leviathan becomes incapable of supplying reinforcements to Baal thanks to the creation of the Great Rift, granting the Blood Angels and their successor chapters a much-needed reprieve during the siege of the Baal system, though the Astartes are still heavily pressed by the Tyranids. A legion of demonic entities, led by the bloodthirster Kabanda, swarm from the rift to assault the Tyranids, with the greater demon declaring that the Blood Angels shall be destroyed by nobody else but he. The defenders upon Baal Prime are either utterly destroyed or forced to retreat, and Imperial forces are driven back to the surface of Baal itself. The surviving elements of the Tau's fourth sphere expansion fleet eventually re-emerge into real space within a region known as the Chalnath Expanse. The Tau of the fourth sphere, traumatized by their experience within the warp, begin to develop an uncharacteristic hatred towards other races, including the auxiliary races of the Tau Empire, who are partially blamed for the ordeal. A wormhole known as the Startide Nexus is created in the wake of the fleet's arrival, and fully stabilizes following the creation of the Cicatrix Maledictum. Thanks to being connected to Numenor Point, the Startide Nexus allows the Tau Empire to launch the fifth sphere of expansion, led by Commander Shadowsun herself through the wormhole and into the region renamed as the Nemiar Atoll. Rabute Gilliman and Belisarius Call finally unveiled the fruits of the Primarch's Primaris project, a new breed of Astartes known as Primaris Marines. Thousands of Primaris Marines are brought out of stasis in response to the turmoil spreading across the galaxy. These new Astartes will initially be formed into mixed heritage legion-sized forces known as the Grey Shields, before being divided to swell the ranks of currently existing Space Marine chapters. 001 M42. The Indomitus Crusade begins. Guilliman leads a massive force from the Sol system, comprised of elements from the Adeptus Astartes, Astra Militarum, Adeptus Mechanicus, Adeptus Custodes, Collegia Titanica, and the Adeptus Sororitas, and begins travelling from system to system to reclaim Imperial worlds from the forces of chaos. Progress is initially slow due to the Astronomicon being temporarily in disarray, prompting Imperial forces to only make short jumps through the warp. A rebellion upon Necromunda is quelled when word of the Crusade reaches the world. Circa 001 to 100 M42. The Indomitus Crusade reaches the death world of Catachan, where it learns that the forces of chaos had already been defeated by the world's defenders. Guilliman then takes the opportunity to resupply his forces and receive an influx of reinforcements drawn from the Catachan jungle fighter Imperial Guard regiments. The Astronomicon begins to slowly stabilize and burn away the taint of the warp throughout the galactic south, allowing the forces of the Crusade to travel faster between various war zones. As the Crusade spreads further and further across the galaxy, Cawl is pushed to the limit as he continues to create new Primaris Marines. Thousands more of these Astartes are awoken from stasis to serve as battle-ready reinforcements, either to replenish losses incurred by current chapters or to form new chapters made exclusively of Primaris stock. These Primaris chapters become known within Imperial records as the Ultima Founding. The Crusade eventually reaches Rin's world, the homeworld of the Crimson Fists chapter, and after defeating the demonic legions assaulting the world, the Crimson Fists are gifted with Primaris reinforcements to replenish their losses. Similar events would occur upon multiple other Astartes homeworlds as the Crusade continues its course. The Eldari craft world of Iandan is invaded by a demonic horde led by the Keeper of Secrets, Nakisha. Iandan would prove victorious during the battle thanks to the timely arrival of an Eldari warhost comprised of all types of Eldari, including the Anari, craft welders, Drukhari, Harlequins, Corsairs, and Exodites. Commander Dante orders a final desperate assault against the forces of Leviathan, with the entirety of the survivors of the 9th Legion sallying forth from the Arx Angelicum. The Blood Angels and their successors would receive surprise reinforcements from the mysterious being known as the Sanguinor and the ghostly apparitions known as the Legion of the Damned. Dante personally slays the Swarm Lord in single combat, despite nearly succumbing to the Black Rage, but is grievously wounded in battle. The forces of the Indomitus Crusade reach the Baal system, and with their aid, the remainder of Leviathan's forces are driven off or destroyed. Guilliman meets with Dante and names him the Regent of Imperium Nihilus. The chapters of the Blood are then gifted with Primaris recruits to help replenish the losses they incurred during the conflict now known as the Devastation of Baal. The Drukhari overlord, Asdrubal Vect, is assassinated, and his cloned bodies and stored essence are destroyed in order to prevent his resurrection. Lady Aurelia Malice, Vect's former lover, flees Camorra in order to escape retribution, fearing that she will be blamed for his death. During Vect's wake, Vect is restored to life thanks to the Prophets of Flesh Homunculus Coven and the Harlequins of the Mask of the Veiled Path. Vect then declares himself to be the incarnation of a lesser deity known as a Dark Muse. Perturabo, the demon primarch of the Iron Warriors Legion, coordinates a series of assaults against the most heavily fortified worlds within Segmentum Obscurus. A number of chaos cults dedicated to the plague god Nurgle begin to spread various diseases and contagions throughout a trio of planetary systems located to the galactic north of Ultramar. leading to this region of space becoming known as the Scourge Stars. A demonic incursion engulfs the world of Armageddon, prompting Imperial and Orc forces to temporarily unite against this new threat. Attempts are made to summon Angron, the demon primarch of the World Eater's traitor legion, upon the world. Despite half of Armageddon being transformed into a demonic hellscape, the ritual ultimately fails thanks to the efforts of the Salamander's Space Marine chapter, creating a new status quo upon Armageddon as the Orc and Human alliance fractures. The Thousand Suns traitor legion, led by the demon primarch Magnus the Red, invades the world of Pranagar, the homeworld of the Sky Sentinel's Space Marine chapter. Despite the Sky Sentinel's best efforts, they are eventually overrun and destroyed. The Dark Angel's fortress monastery, The Rock, is besieged by a demonic horde led by the demon prince, Marbus. The demons are eventually repulsed, but Chapter Master Azrael discovers that Luther, the arch-traitor of the original Dark Angel's Legion, had been spirited away during the battle. Rumours arise in the aftermath of a gathering legion of fallen angels, with Azrael suspecting that none other than Luther is leading them. And that concludes this portion of the Warhammer 40,000 timeline. Join us next time as we continue the events of M42. If you liked this video, consider supporting us on Patreon for more content. To those who are new to 40k, we hope you learnt something. So leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.